Hey there, G3XE here, and I apologize, but today my allergies are freaking killing me. It is springtime, and the pollen is just all out there, so if I sneeze, that is the cause. Doing another dungeon workshop, and today I'm just going to talk about a world that you can use in your D&D campaign, my thoughts on making a world, that type of stuff, how important it is to explain everything in the world to your players. Let's tackle that last question first. Not very. Players should explore and understand the world as they go along. In fact, they'll remember it more and like it better if they do it that way, rather than you just telling them flat out all the stuff that you've made up right at the beginning. Which is why most of this is unfinished, but this is the continent of Gildemir, right? And so I just drew it, colored it, and then there are 5 factions. They're like main governments. And also keep in mind that usually in one adventure you will not encounter both of these unless they're like way far along the story. Because each of these big squares is like 1,000 miles, so it would take about 40 to 50 in-game days to travel. And there are trade routes and all, but essentially what I'll do is I'll just have like a random adventure kind of creation type thing that I can do with dice. Sorry, I keep dropping these dice. Ready, and then I'll just be like, so where do you guys want to start? We can go anywhere. And, you know, most of the stuff that's in between here, it is empty. Literally, like, the adventures are ready to happen there and tell me what's going to be there. You don't really want to plan it out too far in ahead because with a role-playing game, it's a collective building experience, not just you, the DM. Factions, I just have some general information on them at show, and I forgot what I was going to say about that. Oh, the kind of general background to Gildemir is that it is currently the Age of Adventure, which is an idea I like to go back to, which is that there was this age of great prosperity and then a fall, and that was the gods casting everyone to the far corners and leaving the world in darkness. So that's why there are monsters, and since then it's been eons, but there are ruins of those ancient civilizations, and that is why there are treasure and magic items, and the Age of Adventure is the age in which people are starting to realize that, you know, the monsters are kind of being beaten back a little bit. Some areas have been tamed, like these areas controlled by these factions, and there's more and more adventurers, quote-unquote, who are going out and exploring and mapping things out and looking for treasure and trying to strike it out on their own and get rich, or, you know, try not to get decapitated by a rampaging minotaur. So, factions. These 5, feel free to use them. They're just fairly generic, but we have, starting from, we'll start from this side. The Kingdom of Fanafa, the Kingdom of Rorgal, the Iron Holds, the Mokraza Horde, and the Elven Tribes. Now, those symbols are on here as to where they are. We got Rorgal here in the forests, Fanafa here at the edge in the deserts, Elven Tribes way up here on their lonesome in the deep forests. The Mokraza Horde is beyond the mountains in the wildlands, and the mountains, of course, are the Iron Holds. So I'm just going to read out some generic information about them. In the Kingdom of Fanafa, and this is the level of detail I like to go into, which is just precursory, and then we'll fill it all out as we go along with the adventure. So, Fanafa, it's a theocracy. Okay, the leader of it is the Hierophant Sharan, and the capital city is Zion. So it's very religious. They have a very dogmatic religion. Their slogan or motto or whatever is "Dust eats all, only the devout may ascend." And then here I just have a positive about the society and a negative. I did that for all of them. So with the positive, they hold women as equals to men and recognize their importance to society. So, you know, I was thinking that Hierophant Sharan would be a woman. There would be, you know, there wouldn't be any distinction. It would be weird in that society to say that, like, women are not good at something that men are good at, or vice versa. It would just be like, well, what are you talking about? A negative, their extremely dogmatic religion they have that with the harsh punishments for non-believers. So that you could just retrofit this to whatever religion you want to do in your campaign. Like, it could be a god from the Forgotten Realms, or a god you make up, or whatever you want. Either way, it's good adventure hooks because the players might not know, like you shouldn't tell them really about this, and they might offend the tenets of that religion without knowing it, you know, just by walking through. Maybe they don't have the right clothes on, or that they are wearing chainmail in a holy place where you're only allowed to wear robes or something. Alright, Kingdom of Rorgal. And this, by the way, is like Middle Eastern in architecture, I'm thinking. So think Constantinople, think Assassin's Creed 1, think, I was thinking that they would have camels mixed with ostriches. So imagine an ostrich with a camel head that they ride around in trade routes. Think pyramids, even maybe some Eastern stuff as well, and then bring in like the Silk Road and dynasties and things. That's what I was brainstorming about it. Whereas Kingdom of Rorgal, I was going to do more your classic, or what we think of classic, Western fantasy, Western Europe, medieval time period. So, except that they're a constitutional monarchy. So, while they have a monarchy and a king, they also have a flourishing economy because of their great like trade routes and rivers and bay. So they have, you know, much like in the real world, the corporations, you know, or the companies in this case, and the people who hold the most money tend to hold the most sway. You know, in some cases it might not even be the king who controls the most people. So that'd be an interesting thing to explore. The leader's name is King Rorik the 12th, and the capital city stands at the entry to the bay or whatever, and it's Lion's Home. You know, think very lions and blue and gold and heraldry and all that, right? Oh, and their soldier is going to be the knights. Those things I was talking about before, I was thinking I might call them sand striders for Fanafa. So anyway, so knights, you know, your classic knights. Their slogan, honor and valor, now and always. Fairly typical. Positive about the Kingdom of Rorgal, their thriving capitalist economy creates lots of opportunity for diverse groups of races. That could be a great starting place because players typically, like, one person's a half-orc, one person's a genasi, one person's a lizard man, and the other person's a half-elf, you know, and it's like, well, how do all these people know each other? So this is very diverse. However, they are a very sexist society that prevents women from living autonomously or having high positions. So it's kind of the opposite of Fanafa, and these two kingdoms are constantly at war with one another. But in Rorgal, like, it's not like women are I don't really know how to talk about it, you know, the right words, but essentially, like, it's like, they say it's being gentlemanly, but really it's just like, women aren't allowed to do stuff, so it's like, oh, well, a lady never, you know, a lady would not be a noble, you know, or own a shop, like, that is crazy talk. She, you know, should be focused on fanciful dresses and stuff like that. So, could be some good conflict. I wouldn't go super heavy into either of these, like, issues unless your group's ready for that. You know, it could just be fairly grazing the surface. But getting real-life conflicts like that, I think, is what RPGs are about, because it's how you explore. It's like a thought experiment. Alright. The Iron Holds. This is where the dwarves hold up in these 5 mountains. Well, 6 mountains. Yeah. The Iron Holds, their symbol is a pickaxe with a little wrought iron bar thing twisting around it. They have a democracy, okay? This is, think ancient Greece classic democracy. Like, not even representatives, really. It's just well, I guess a little bit. They have individual clans, which are like collections of families, right? And then they specify a delegate for that clan, and then the majority of the people in the clan on every issue decide one way, and then that delegate goes to the great, council thing and casts his rune. They all have family crests or runes, and they cast it to the vote they wish, right? So that's how the Iron Holds make decisions. Very slow process, but that's okay, because they hold up in their mountains and don't really explore too much out of that. And they spend a lot of time beating back the Mok'Razah Horde, which we'll talk about. They're kind of the barrier from at least the moderately civilized lands to the wild lands. And if you've seen a lot of analogies to draw from this in Game of Thrones, yeah, good DMs steal. Their capital city is in the middle mountain, and it's called Staunchwell. Although I wasn't really happy with that name. You could pick a different name. Their soldiers, their most elite soldiers, are called Ironsung. When you do something really full of bravery and stuff in battle, you become Ironsung, and your name will be sung throughout the generations. Their slogan or motto is "Hold fast until dawn." Positive of their society. Their system of representation, with each clan leader voted a delegate and casting a vote, allows for fair government amongst the dwarves. Negative, however, the Holds are xenophobic to the extreme and are reluctant to even let in outside visitors, let alone have other people move in. So not so much racist. They don't think dwarves are the best race, but they will only allow dwarves to live there because that is where the families live, and they don't allow outsiders. It's all this collection of clans that go back generations, and it's full of kind of just this history and fear of the outside world, for good reasons sometimes, because they're constantly getting under attack by orcs and goblins and by trolls and all manner of other things, but they're not very open. So getting into there might be difficult for a party of people who aren't dwarves from the area. However, I guess if they did something for the dwarves, maybe they would gain their trust. Alright, the Mok'Razah Horde. This is the newest faction out of all of these, okay? And it is growing. Previously, the Wildlands was just that, completely wild. Is where all the orcs and goblins and things that the more quote-unquote civilized folks banished them to, and is where they all hung out. And they divide into many countless little groups and tribes and whatever. However, since then, a one warlord has kind of risen above all the rest, and his name is Mok'Razah. So he's forming a dictatorship, if you couldn't tell, under his banner, his war banner, which is what the little icon is. His full title is Mok'Razah the Hellborn, because he has demon blood in him. Their capital city is a deep, underdark, place called the Pit. And it's almost where it's on the verge of the mortal planes and the lower, abyss. So very demonic. The higher ups in the Mok'Razah Horde have kind of made alliances with demons or devils, probably devils, in order to gain enough power to unite all these forces. But think about when they get all the orcs and goblins together and then assault on the rest of Gildemir. That is a massive cataclysmic event that will happen. A great plot hook to build up to, Their soldiers are called Screamers. I took that straight from Game of Thrones. So you got the Mok'Razah Screamers bounding toward your fortress. Their slogan is blood, blood, blood. I kind of struggled with finding a positive, because they're supposed to be your, pure evil bad guys that your player characters don't feel bad about slaughtering, because they would indeed slaughter the players, and women and children and babies and everything else. But for positive, I put they offer a way for many orcs and goblins to increase their quality of life. So while they might just be one scrub out in the middle of the woods trying to pick, enough food to survive for the next day, this horde kind of allows them to be a part of something greater than themselves, and if they are what in their culture, I guess, in this world would great by their brutality and their combat prowess, then they're able to ascend and create a name for themselves and maybe even become a general in the ranks. Of course, the negative is they murder and brutalize all enemies, orc or not. So, if let's say the Mokroza tribe is expanding and there's another smaller tribe of orcs, they don't care that they're orcs. They will brutalize them just as they would the dwarves, just as they would anyone who's not Mokroza. And they have goblins as well. So goblins do most of the manual labor and the foraging and everything, and they kind of, bully the goblins. But the goblins participate a little bit in the warfare as well. So that's Mokroza, the newest faction in Gildemir. And then that leaves the oldest faction, the Elven tribes. They are not unified under one banner because they are a bunch of different tribes, kind of like the Mokroza, except they're their foil. They're their opposite in that they are all spread out, but they live completely peacefully. They're in almost all points of the history of Gildemir have been pacifists. Or at least they want to be. They try not to interfere with anything. So think not to the extreme of like Gandhi and nonviolence, but they really they believe in nonviolence, or at least a lot of the tribes do, even when people are getting killed. So their soldiers are called the Blade Guard. Their only duty, or I shouldn't say duty, their only prerogative to attack is if someone is directly attacking the forest and the trees and stuff. And if they're attacking the trees, then the Blade Guard are authorized to use force, but try not to kill them if possible. Which I kind of took from actual like Shaolin Buddhist monks from our own world, which when their monasteries were under attack and stuff, I don't know actually if Shaolin, but definitely Buddhist monks, they didn't want to kill people, so they learned to beat back enemies with weapons that were non-lethal. Blades that would not cut very deep, but would just slash, and staves that would bruise and maybe break bone, but not permanently, in someone's life, I should say. So that's what the Elven tribes are up to. Their capital place is where the Council of Elders meet, and that's Eluvarine. They have many different tribes, many different philosophies. More newer tribes lean more towards, okay, well, if we know that a horde is marching toward our place, maybe we should, take a little bit of proactive movement to prepare. Whereas the old guard of the Elven say, no, you live and meditate peacefully, and you strive to better yourself intellectually, and you abhor violence, Now, for player characters who want to come from here, you could go, you are straight up, trying to be pacifist, and you're, maybe one of the Blade Guard or whatever, or Blade Guard, I should say. GW, don't sue me. But, or you could be an outcast. Maybe you are violent, and they just sent you out of society, almost like the Amish. They just excommunicated you. Their motto is, keep thou the earth, so the earth may keep you. Positive is they're very intellectual society, value intellect, value studying, poetry, both scientific and artistic pursuits. Their negative is they're slow and very reluctant to involve themselves with anything outside of their woods. So, if there's a cataclysmic horde that's marching towards the rest of Gildemir, and the Rorgal citizens try and get the elves to come back them up because they can maybe shore off this side of the mountains, they're like, no, we can't do anything, and it would take a lot of convincing and maybe a switch up of leadership or something. So anyway, that is just a good standard campaign setting. You can have an adventure, start it in anywhere, and then once the players get tired of that biome, you just move them on over. You got grasslands, you got forests, you got deep forests, desert. Up here, I don't know what would be on these islands or up on this. This was icy. These might just be your standard kind of islands. You can put whatever you want over there, you know. I mean, it's your, feel free to do with it what you want. Here is a picture of the thing. Again, this is Fanafa, F-A-N-A-F-A, Rorgal, R-O-R-G-A-L, Ironholds, Mok-Raza, M-O-K, apostrophe R-A-Z-A, and the Elven tribes. And sorry if my voice is a little gravelly and all. I hope you forgive the allergies, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, I have a blog now. Check it out for more updates. Thanks.